What is the occult meaning of John Ronald Reuel Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, One Ring to Rule Them All? Many years ago, I did a lot of study into this. I read all of Tolkien's works, The Hobbit, the trilogy of Lord of the Rings, the Silmarillion. I read his letters that he was writing back and forth with people. I read the biography about him, or autobiography, I forget what it was. But I did a 3-part series on Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings. It's very much a heavy occult type of story that he made and allegorized and whatever else. And I figured out a lot of it, you know, the Yggdrasil connection, you know, a lot of the old ancient Nordic type of stuff and whatever, and that the fact that the dwarves in Tolkien's system are actually Jews. It represents Jews with them, and there's all these different rings of power and all the stuff. Very heavy occult type writing. It's definitely not a Christian work. And he talked about the writer of the Lord of the Rings, and he said, basically not him. And then later on in his years, he said the demon of invention finally left me. So he admitted that it was written by demons. But and I have the proof of that. I'll put the links to my study at the end. But the one thing I couldn't figure out, what does the ring symbolize? This one ring that corrupts those who come in contact with it. It's the all-powerful ring and whatever. And I was thinking for a little while, is it the King James Bible? Because Catholics don't like the King James Bible and they think it messes people up if they read the Bible for themselves. And so I was kind of thinking that way, and I thought, yeah, but it doesn't quite work out. And I didn't know what it was until I read this book, the book on demonology by King James. And it has the answer to what this one ring is. You see, when you think of a ring, you think of something like this. You think of a ring that you wear on your finger. You put it on your finger, and it doesn't even fit me anymore, but you put that ring on your finger. People think of the ring of power like that. But there's another type of ring. One that's a lot more powerful. And I'm going to try to draw this here real quickly. This particular ring is, I would say, probably the most powerful symbol in the occult. And it's in a lot of different things. And you'll know it as soon as I'm done drawing it here. Not using a ruler or anything, so bear with my crooked lines, but right there. You see, that's the real ring of power. All right? Let me read it to you. I'm not saying this. I'm not a anti-Semitic or whatever else I would say. No, this is actually the most powerful ring. This is in the introduction of this book right here, King James's book on demonology, and it says, "It was in the apocryphal book of the Testament of Solomon where this tradition originated, which holds cultural significance with the Muslims. The legend states that God granted King Solomon with a special ring that could be used to bind and control demons walking the earth." Bind and control demons? What is the thing that is in Lord of the Rings? One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. You mean to tell me that this ring is used to conjure devil spirits? Well, if you understand witchcraft and understand the occult, yes, that's exactly what they'll do. They draw this big ring on the floor, and then they draw a hexagram in the middle, or sometimes a pentagram, but the hexagram, and then they can conjure a devil spirit up in the middle of the thing. More on that later. In this book, Solomon forces a plethora of demons into submission by first describing their traits, abilities, and appearances, then further enslaves them to build the temple of God. This ring is believed not simply to be a ring that is worn around a finger, as one might assume, but was instead a seal that is either drawn on the floor or fashioned by metal into the shape of a ring or pentagram. The legend states that Solomon was granted the power of the seal not only to summon the spirits and command them, but to also bind them within a vessel or object if he so desired. It is from this legend that magicians have contemplated for centuries the methods of controlling the angels of the infernal order for their own purpose as well. The Talmud talks about that. Very interesting. You learn the names of God and whatever else, and you can conjure, different spirits and things. The drawing of circles and pentagrams is merely a reproduction of Solomon's seal, i.e. the Star of David. Right there you have it. With the symbols and letters contained within as simply attributions to the names of God, heavenly angels or saints within and around the drawn lines and figures. This form of ceremonial magic is also known as angel magic and is still believed to be powerful enough to confront or hold a demon, which you will also read about further, but is also regarded as pure blasphemy by James, King James, and as a temptation which the devil uses to lure the weak-minded, where ritualistic prayers or incantations are chanted, oftentimes in repetition to various angels, saints, and demons, of which they summon in the name of God. Like I said earlier with the Talmud, they do this. You can use different names of God, and you can make a golem. Interesting. But on the next page it says, although it is blasphemous in nature, there are some who practice a Christian, Jewish, or Muslim faith that may feel otherwise. It is shown in this dissertation, however, that this practice is clearly opposed by King James, and his view further explains why the Protestants of the Middle Ages viewed the Catholic traditions and ceremonial rites as nothing more than witchcraft in disguise. And you say, oh, come on, this is so insulting. If you study Tolkien's work, Lady Galadriel, the elf queen or whatever, she's a witch. And he calls her a witch. And she has powers of sorcery and things like this. So it's not insulting to say, oh, Tolkien was trying to, combine witchcraft and whatever with his Catholic beliefs. No, that's what Roman Catholicism truly is. It is witchcraft. If you understand it, the true purpose of it. I mean, they call Mary Lucifer. They sing about Lucifer in the Vatican. Literally in St. Peter's Basilica, the Easter Mass and whatever, they sing about Lucifer, and they say, Christos Filios Tous. Christ is your son. So, again, I'm not being a jerk and trying to attack, hate crimes against Catholicism or something ridiculous. I'm saying this is actually what they practice and believe. That's why they have the cannibalistic rite of eating Jesus' flesh and blood when you take Mass. You're supposed to do it, if you're a really good Catholic, you do it every day. Disgusting. It's not what Jesus meant in John chapter 6. He was talking about understanding the Scriptures, reading the Scriptures, studying the Scriptures. The Old Testament being symbolic of his body, and the New Testament in my blood that he talked about, okay? Old Testament, New Testament. I have a whole study on that. It's very deep stuff. But continuing here, it says, in fact, not many people know that within the pulpit of every traditional Catholic church in America, bone shards are encased within, believed to be the remains of a saint. When Catholics prayed to the saints and angels for assistance, or held ritualistic incantations to exorcise demons, King James likened this practice to necromancy. All right? So, all people, they'll attack King James because he wrote a book on demonology, and they don't even read the book. But if you actually read the book, he's condemning it. He's saying, here are the ways that these people do things within the occult, and he's saying it's wrong, it's bad. So they'll attack King James for writing a book on demonology, but then they'll uplift the Catholic Church that's actually practicing demonology. And by the way, this symbol here, you can find this all through Catholicism. It's all over the place. You'll see it on their cathedrals and their temples and everything. They have hexagrams everywhere. I'm from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, is where I was born and raised, and there they had hex signs. The Amish. Why? Well, because Lancaster County, Pennsylvania was one of the oldest centers for witchcraft in America. They had the Ephrata Cloister, which was a Rosicrucian colony. That's why Benjamin Franklin liked to go there. You have the Amish practicing the magic from Albertus Magnus, which is mentioned in here. One of the church fathers, the church doctors of the whatever law or whatever else. Yeah, an occultist. Wrote the book Long Lost Friend, which gets into different ritual magic, including blood magic. Pleading the blood. Did you ever hear that in Baptist churches? I just plead the blood. I plead the blood of Jesus. I plead the blood. It's witchcraft. You'll never find that in Scripture. Nobody ever pled the blood of Jesus on anything. But see, it's part of the hex system. It's part of witchcraft. All right? I'm going to give you a real interesting tie-in here in a minute. But let's go to the Scriptures here real quickly, and I'll show you that this goes way back. This is not a new thing. Acts chapter 7. Turn in the King James Bible to Acts chapter 7. King James is not an occultist. He wrote against the occult. But see, the way that the occult people like to do things, they like to twist the facts around and make you think, oh, King James was the real Satanist and his King James Bible here is the real satanic book and whatever. No. Acts chapter 7 verse 42 and 43 says, Then God turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as it is written in the book of the prophets. O ye house of Israel, have ye offered to me beasts and sacrifices by the space of 40 years in the wilderness? Yea, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch, and the star of your god Remphan, figures which ye made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. Again, understanding the five kingdoms start with Babylon, and they end where we are today with the fifth kingdom, miry clay and iron. Miry clay is a reference to Israel, the mingled seed of Israel. That's what the King James Bible teaches. You look up the term miry clay, it only appears a few times, and it's Israel. It's not some kind of mystical thing in transhumanism or some kind of weird angels coming. No. It's Israel. We are in the fifth kingdom. The fifth kingdom, I believe and teach, that it started when the Jews, Pilate's out there and he says, Shall I crucify your king? And they say, We have no king but Caesar. That's, I believe, when the fifth kingdom started. And we've been in it ever since then. It's part weak, part strong. There are times that it's, the Dark Ages it was very strong. Other times it's very strong. But there's times when people rise up and say, No, I don't want anything to do with your witchcraft system, your hex system. And then there's strength, there's freedom. The Protestant Reformation was very much about that. Protestants had a lot of problems. I'm not saying that all Protestants were ever, that ever lived were all saved. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is people need to rise up against this fifth kingdom system. Not just the Jews, but the Catholics as well. All right? And then remember that there's a lot of fake people that say that they're Jews and they're not. They're the synagogue of Satan. But I'll give you another example of the hex symbol, the one ring to rule them all. This is a good one. What about that? Hexagram? Hexagram. It's a six-pointed star. Six-pointed star. One ring. One ring to rule them all? Could it be that US dollar hegemony, the world's reserve currency, could it be that it ties into this? Could it be that they want to control all economies to eventually turn it all into the stable coin, cryptocurrency, central bank digital currency thing? Could it be that that's the real message here? The mark of the beast system? Could it have something to do with that? Could the Freemasonic square and compass have something to do with this? Could the nation of Israel, with that as their symbol on their flag, could it have something to do with this? Could it be that the book of Revelation is coming to punish the nation of Israel, the time of Jacob's trouble? It's not about the church. The church isn't there. The bride of Christ has been called up beforehand. Revelation chapter 4, that's why John went up. That's why he sees 24 elders up there. They're crowned. When were they crowned? At the judgment seat of Christ. And then there's a great number of angels around the throne. In the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven. Done countless studies, hundreds of studies on this, proving it. It's exactly what the Bible teaches. This time that's coming, the book of Revelation, is for the destruction of this system right here. And it's interesting too, because what's the mark of the beast? 666. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Almost like it's a number 6. Right there it is. So, as a researcher, it can take years sometimes to decode some of this stuff and whatever, especially get into this occult stuff. But what was Tolkien talking about? That's the one ring to rule them all and to bind them. He's talking about witchcraft. That's what the whole system is all about. So, what I want you to do, I'm going to give you a little bit of homework out there to my viewers. I want you to look around. Because you can come to me and you can say, Denlinger's crazy. Why am I listening to some guy? What's he think? He's Paul Bunyan or something in his red and black buffalo plaid or whatever. Or I've been accused of being a Satanist because I wear red and black. Okay, yeah. I've been wearing buffalo plaid, since I was a boy. But I wear flannel because it works for me. I do work at, I did work in logging in the past and whatever, but, I like flannel. I'm not a Satanist, okay? I'm not a Freemason. I'm not CIA. I'm not anything at all. My channel's not monetized. I'm just trying to put truth out there for people. You can take it or leave it, okay? But if you want to say that I'm crazy, then here's how this thing works, okay? This is all just a conspiracy theory. The US dollar being the world's reserve currency and whatever else, it's not the one ring to rule them all, symbolized there with the hexagram on the back, and you get the little star in the middle too, and the annual it's shaped as Novus Ordo Seclorum over here, announcing the conception of a new order that's secular, without God, in other words. I'm the crazy one. Don't listen to me. All right. If you think I'm crazy and you think it's all just a weird conspiracy theory, then you will not see hexagrams in architecture, in advertisements for things. You'll not see hexagrams anywhere. Okay. There's this one ring thing. It's in the book up here, King James's book on demonology. It's in the King James Bible. Okay, the star of their god Remphan and Chion and Moloch and things. It says also in the Old Testament. It's all just a conspiracy. It's not true. You'll never see hexagrams on advertisements on church buildings. All around with different things. But if you do see those, maybe you'll start to wake up to the reality of the occult world, and it's all around you. Lord of the Rings, it's not about that. It's about this. You better wake up to who the enemy is. You better get saved if you're not saved. Jesus Christ was murdered by these people right here, the fifth kingdom. They conspired to murder the Lord of glory. But it doesn't end there. Jesus Christ is coming back. And he's going to be pouring out his judgment and wrath on this whole system right here. These people that conjure devil spirits. Better make sure that you're on the right side when he comes back. That's going to be it. Thank you for watching.